popular TV series called You Can't Do That on Television was created right here in Ottawa. It was at the CJOH TV studios on Merivale, right next to where I work. It was a show that gave Nickelodeon and the world not only green slime, but the philosophy of being on the side of the child. Children actually got a voice. It also played a large part in the success of Nickelodeon in the ensuing years. Nickelodeon president Geraldine Laybourne actually told the New York Times that You Can't Do That on Television took Nickelodeon from 2.6 million subscribers to over 23 million. That's huge. Yes, you can clap for that. It's a groundbreaking show. It's part of Ottawa's history, part of Canada's history. It ran on television for 10 years and was sold all around the world, and here are just a few of the many kids today that appeared on the series. They're going to answer your questions. It's going to be great. But first, very special guest, a woman that cast the series, that was behind all of it. Please put your hands together for Carol Hay. Come on out, Carol! Interesting fact, Carol actually taught me drama many years ago at the Ottawa School of Speech and Drama. Thanks for being here, Carol.
Thanks, Jess.
So, you want to sit? You want to stand? We can sit. It's like Oprah. So, Carol, you cast this. Tell us, what was the process like finding kids in Ottawa, and how did you choose ones to be on the show?
Well, I'm a drama teacher, and I was running drama classes in the school board, and then I started running private drama classes, and a lot of these kids, a lot of the kids from the classes ended up on the show. So it was really fun to run around and hold auditions at different venues and so on, and kids who were watching the show got to come out and try and catch our eye and then join the classes. So it was really a fantastic thing for Ottawa. Roger came from England and set us up.
Roger's here too, by the way. Got all the important ones here. And Carol, was there something that you were looking for when casting the show? Because all the kids on the show were very different. So obviously you wanted something to stand out from each kid.
We were looking for kids who were really natural. So we were looking for kids who, we wanted the show to look like a reality show, even though it was scripted and even though the kids had learned all of the lines, we wanted to look as if they were just being themselves. So we looked for kids that had a very natural way of being in the world and being comfortable with themselves.
Were you in charge of casting Alanis?
I was.
Is she here? Don't see her. How fantastic. Does anybody have a question for Carol? About the show, about casting? Did any of you try out?
Would you want to have tried out? Yes? A big thing in Ottawa, even now when I go around, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, my friend was on that show. And we'll go through that, we'll go through quite a few stages of people thinking that, yeah, I think my friend, it's like an urban legend in Ottawa that everybody knows some kid that was on the show. I wanted to be on the show, so maybe you know somebody.
And such a groundbreaking show too. I'm sure we all saw the spin-offs. On YTV. I grew up with that. There was a few spin-offs from this. It truly was groundbreaking. Got to be proud of that.
It was fun.
Okay, should we bring up the first person, first speaker? All right. You don't even know who it is yet. Is it Alanis? Yes. Wouldn't that be ironic? Okay. So first, we're going to bring out a character I'm sure you all know. You've heard of Moose. You know Moose from the show, yeah. So Moose was probably the most iconic star from the series. Please welcome Christine McGlade. Yes, come on, that's your cue. Come on, Christine. Christine, looks like she just walked off the set, right? Can't even tell the day has passed.
Duh.
Thank you for being here, Christine.
Thank you.
So I gotta ask, do you have an iconic moment or a memory from the show that's your favorite? Because there was a lot that went on.
I remember nothing from the 80s. No, like every time I got slimed, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
No. No, an iconic moment. No, not really. It was all
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Look, it's the 80s. You don't need to justify it.
Yeah,
We
no, I
understand.
can't. Yeah.
Why don't should I bring everybody out and then we can all talk? Is that a good idea? Okay, so coming up next, this young lady was no, we already brought Carol out. Hey, at least they called you young in the script. That's great. Well, this guy was one of the most memorable kids from the show, appearing on the show for 5 years, 6 years. You wrote this. I didn't write this, so don't look at me. I'm just reading. Please welcome Doug Ptolemy. Did I say that right? Ptolemy. Doug Ptolemy. All right, we'll keep it going and then we'll start asking questions. Oh, we know this one. This mother of three still looks the same as she did in the 80s and 90s. She really does. Stephanie Bauder. She really looks the same. Scooch. Yeah, come, let's sit over here. All right, a literary and cultural historian with research and teaching interests in Yiddish and modern Jewish literatures. Please welcome Justin Cammy.
Thank you so much.
Justin. And prior to joining the cast, little Kevin in the first animated TV classic, The Care Bears. Oh, you were a voice of the Care Bears. Wow, which Care Bear?
I was the little boy that they rescued Kevin.
Oh, Kevin.
Remember Kevin? I had very important lines. You know what those lines were? No, you can't make me. No, you can't make me. No, you can't make me.
Did they make you?
They did.
Yeah. And finally, last but not least, she voiced Wish, Love-A-Lot, and Friend Bear of the Care Bears, Eleanor Tweeg on The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin, and she is the first mother Nickelodeon hired, and this Mother's Day weekend would not be complete without Valerie Prever. Come on out, Mom. Come on out, Mom. Abby Hagyard. Hello, author extraordinaire, superstar. Look, she's holding the book right now. She knows how to hustle. Abby Hagyard. If you haven't bought it yet, you really should. I think you have some copies here today people can buy, right? If not, you can order it on Amazon. Very interesting book. Very interesting. Here we are! Look at the cast! Please put your hands together. Some familiar faces up there. All right, I'm going to get the Q&A started, but whenever you have a question, just put up your hand, because I know that some... Oh, you want to get it started, sir? Please, be my guest. Come up to the microphone. What's your name?
Steven.
Steven, what's your question?
This part of the year, my grown-up years was watching your show. You guys on television was awesome.
So sorry.
And getting slimed every day was awesome to watch. I wanted to be on your show, but I never made the tryout. Les Sly was one of my people. What was he like to work with, and his comedy and so on with every day, you know?
Awesome, right?
The best.
Simple as that.
I think he was sort of like Abby is the meat in the middle of the sandwich. Like we're all up here. He was very central. He was always with us. He came with us, which was nice.
Yeah.
That's not
He was amazing and wonderful. And as Steph said, he was a real dad figure to a lot of them. And I got to work with him for a long time, many years on many shows, and he was just, you're absolutely right, he was one in a million. Thank you.
Just, no, I think it's good. So yeah, the only other thing to say about Les was like he was a professional. Like he was a very, very funny man, amazing actor, a real pro, and he was thrown into a studio with a bunch of kids who knew nothing about anything. And he was the most patient, giving, gracious, really amazing to work with. He's really taught us all, along with Abby, everything we know, and all about acting.
Another question?
Well, one thing I always loved was like when you got slimed or watered on. Did you always know when you were going to, or did that come as a surprise?
It was shocking.
They looked at.
Thanks, Doug.
No, they all knew because the studio was set up, so the carpets had to be protected. There were people standing on ladders everywhere with all the stuff that was about to fall on them. So we knew, but the idea was to make it look like everyone was completely surprised by it.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's interesting, going back to the slime, you were trained how to react to the slime as a kid. And I screwed my one sliming up. They told you to look up into the slime. So it would hit you, but because you have a reaction. I blinked before the slime hit my face. So I was never slimed again.
It was very expensive training.
Exactly.
That was very specific training. Look at the slime.
And I don't know about, I'm sure Christine had a bigger issue with this, but the stuff in your hair, I don't know how you dealt with it, but it would take so many washings.
Yeah, for a while they were, I never knew what they put in the slime, and I think if I did know and I told you, they would have to kill me, but for a while I'm sure they were putting flour and water, so it was like paper mache, essentially, in your hair, and like, so it was, yeah, it was pretty, I'd be picking it out of my hair, like in class, 2 days later, you know, be like, what the, well, you have all the coming out of my ears, and it was really unpleasant.
We put shampoo in it for a while to try and get, you know, so it'd be easier for the showering.
Well, showering.
The showering. And
We had our own shower.
Who knew?
we didn't tell everybody.
That would have been the thing.
But the shampoo was burning the kids' eyes, so we couldn't use the shampoo, so that's why it was so sticky. Sorry.
Just a second, when I came on though, they had actually baby shampoo. No more tears. So we sort of got a little bit, they moved up.
Not in my day.
Okay, I'm coming around with the microphone here. I'm coming. Meanwhile, Doug, I have a question here in line. How did you get on the show?
Lucky. Well, that's a long story. When I was in grade 4, I met a really special teacher at school that was a one-of-a-kind. Her name was Carol Hay. She's sitting to my left here. And I ended up joining the drama class after school. And the producer, Roger Price, used to show up, and he thought I was just a one-of-a-kind, and he said, I want him. I want that kid. And here we are.
Great. What's your question?
Well, first a comment. I was one of the ones who really wanted to be on the show, and I lived too far away to even think about trying out, but I watched it religiously for so many years, and I loved it. And even today, if I see peas or a knife, I think I need honey so that the peas will stay on the knife. Every time. My kids don't understand. But can you give us an idea of what would be going on behind the scenes? What would the filming be like? Because if you're in school full time at the same time as you're filming this, how would that go for you?
Could you still be a normal kid?
Yeah.
It was
What
important.
school? Yeah.
It was important to keep a regular schedule for the kids. So all of the shooting was done after school and on Saturdays. So these kids were really busy, and we shot in blocks throughout the year. But Saturdays and Sundays were at the studios.
Well, what's kind of fun, sometimes people don't realize it, but we shot everything in blocks, meaning we would shoot all the classrooms like for 5 shows in one 4-hour chunk of studio time. So that was super fun. Like you were always like, oh, I hope it's classrooms today, because then you knew there'd be more like of your friends there. And we'd shoot all the link sets at one time and shoot all the, so yeah, that was kind of fun.
It was pretty interesting too, because I didn't appear in any of those. And all of a sudden I would show up after weeks and weeks and weeks, because we were going to do kitchens, we were going to do bathrooms, we were going to do, you know, living rooms. And the kids would all say, where have you been? and I'd think, I don't know, why am I not? And then, you know, nothing would happen to me because they weren't allowed to slime me. But the interesting thing about your question about wanting to be part of it and was it part of their day, the most amazing conversation that we have all had over the years, back when we were shooting and since, is that they actually lived 2 lives. They had their regular lives, and then they had this crazy life. And they would transition from one to the other. It was pretty amazing, I think, for kids growing up.
But on that note, did you find that it helped or hurt your social life at school? Like, did people think it was super cool that you were on this show, or did it make people jealous?
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I don't think anyone knew. Or if,
No.
if they did know, they didn't
Yeah.
let on with that. I would. It certainly didn't help my social life. Thinking back to my high school and junior high.
Yeah, you'd think
you'd think
it woulda.
But it's true. We were much more known outside of Ottawa, even outside of Canada, than we were sort of in the United States. So for many of us, we didn't actually have a sense of either how large or how big a reach the show actually had. So it was very easy, in the same way that some kids go off and do a job working at a store or packing bags in a supermarket. Our job was to go and do this. And I saw it as a mix in some ways between real work, because it was work, and you had to stick to a schedule and to be responsible, but it was also very campy in some ways, being around people that you wanted to be with. It was a lot of fun, especially during the scenes that you weren't in. So during all those filmings, there was a lot of sitting around, and that's where a lot of the kids would sort of either do their homework or just run around the studio, talk to one another. It was great. It was a lot of good friendships.
Great.
I know for myself, when I first started on the show, I was one of the shortest kids in my class, so I got picked on a lot. And when I started acting, the show was on every Saturday, so quite often we'd have to wear like a dress, a girl's clothes, or we'd get green slime dumped on us. So all my classmates and people at school would see that, and I'd look forward to going to school on Monday to get picked on even more because of my hair, with the dress I wore on Saturday. So, good times.
I think I'm like you. I actually didn't really tell anybody. I thought, that would be branding, so I just sort of kept it my secret life. I compartmentalized it. It really wasn't. And then I remember I had one friend, and when I finally confided in her, she was like, "No, you're not." She walked away. And it's funny now. More people know that I did it now than when we were actually doing it.
I blame the internet.
I know. It's the fans. Anybody else?
Anyone have a question? I got the mic. I'll bring it around. Okay. What's your question?
Hello, my name's Andre. I'm with Ottawa Life magazine. My question is, so you just said that you didn't really know that you were catching on here in Canada because it was looked at predominantly as a United States show, despite being filmed here. So now here we are at the Canada's 150th birthday, and we've got two iconic shows reuniting here at Comic-Con with Degrassi as well tomorrow. So now in retrospect, looking at how it did affect us Canadians, how do you feel being part of that cultural impact?
Really proud.
Check, check. Yeah. Really proud. Really, really proud that we managed to let kids know that, generally speaking, adults have no idea what they're doing. And their first instinct to go, what, is correct. Kids should know that it's okay, that they are okay just as they are. And that was Roger's premise with the show. It's how Carol coached us. It's how the scripts were written. And even today, we have people who could be going to look at other events here at Comic-Con, but you've come to find out exactly what it is we did to you that makes you okay today. And so I'm real proud of being part of that. And anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's part of, there's obviously a real Canadian tradition of sort of exporting comedy, right? Like, so I feel really good to be having been kind of a part of that. So, and I actually don't think the show would have gotten made in the US. Like, I think we were able to do a lot of things and really push the envelope because we were just up in Ottawa. And in fact, when it got bought by Nickelodeon, they made us change some stuff. Like, when it was just a local Ottawa Canadian show, Dad was drinking beer. And he was surrounded by beer cans, and that was the first thing to go. I know! Come on! But no, I think it's, it's like Second City, and I think there's a great tradition of Canadian comedy being known and loved in the U.S.
I also think that if you look at what YTV or Nick are doing now in the States, in many ways, You Can't Tell on Television is the grandfather of all of the type of shows that you see now. Or grandmother of all those shows that one sees right now. In a way, it was the first show that wasn't didactic. It wasn't meant to raise children and tell them how to behave. It showed people how adults are foolish and how kids are also foolish. And in a way, all the shows that my own children watch right now, which I shake my head at and say, how anyone watch this, in some ways they're entertaining to children because they owe something to the ground that You Can't Tell on Television specifically broke in that domain.
You're not talking about Keeping Up with the Kardashians, are you?
Always.
Yeah.
There was a white-faced gentleman near the back that had a question. I'm quite concerned about his health.
Oh yeah, just one sec. We had this guy was waiting first.
So actually, I just wanted to tell you something. I actually had a question. So I'm from the prairies. So back in, I think it was 81 or 82, like these sort of programs were sort of coming up more when we got First Choice and Super Channel. That's where they were showcased for us, and we were sort of imitating it in elementary. But it had an effect on me and my friends coming out of high school, and we took some of what we got from your show and some of what we got from Kids in the Hall and made our own public access TV show.
Nice.
We ran for like 2 years. So my question to you is, because we had like a little bit of regional popularity and then it disappeared. What was it like for you kind of coming out of this, going into like your adult years and stuff? Like, how did this change you, or like how did this affect you going into adulthood? What did you do? How does it affect you in your day-to-day?
Should I start?
All of you.
Yeah, I'll be quick and I'll pass along the mic. I think for me the biggest way that it affected me was learning how to collaborate, right? Like when you work in an ensemble, especially when there's a lot of improv behind it, like you probably know what that's like. It makes it a lot easier to work in a lot of different fields. And I kind of stayed in media, but I kind of didn't. So everything that I've done since then, just that being able to collaborate, and that one thing you learn in improv is you never say no. You always say yes, and you always like take what the person is throwing down, you do something with it. And I think that's something that you can use in anything you do.
Tough question. For me, I started the show when I was 9, and I went through the teenage years growing up as a child actor, and my role in the show ended when I was around 15, 16, so I think 15, 16 is a tough time for most people, and then I had the added burden of transitioning from being a child actor to normalcy, so it was like a time where I kind of, it was dark years for me, to be honest with you, and I kind of disappeared off the face of the planet, and I had a really tough time from some of the people I acted with, and I guess it was about 8 years before I kind of came out from under the rock and started looking at life a little differently, and just growing and learning from my mistakes in my past, and it's been an interesting life.
I'll do it just a little bit. I think I developed, I didn't know it at the time, I had a deep appreciation for things that people much older than us were doing without even knowing it, because we would hang around, but then someone tells us what the next direction is, and we automatically would have to just move into the next thing. So we developed an ability to sort of adapt really quickly to things. And it was a little bit of a bubble world, but it's only as an adult, and I'm thinking, we used to talk publicly, and we used to be very, very social. And a lot of kids now tend to be not as personable, I think, because they don't have, that's not very fair. Maybe not as, yeah, that's the word. It was a good word. And so I'm blessed by that, because it's moved on to other work and being able to network at such a young age.
I like the word that Christine used, collaborative. I think also what it taught me was the idea of support, and that you can't always be out in front. In some ways, I came on at a time where people like Christine and Abby and Les and Alistair, and to a certain extent Lisa and Dougie and Vanessa were sort of iconic players, and then there was a second tier of kids who circled in and out of some episodes every season, but they clearly weren't in all of them, and you had to figure out very quickly that you could play an important role even if you weren't in every scene or in every episode or in every season. I think that's a good lesson for life in general, to know that things get done not only when you're out in front. We talk a lot these days about leadership, but sometimes you have to be a really good team player and even a follower. And the other thing that I learned was the iterative nature of how things come together. That is, that there were a lot of things that we had to not necessarily completely rewrite, but there was an openness to allowing a certain flexibility with the way the scenes went, and children could contribute to that. So, you know, I think as we all get older, it's really nice keeping that in mind as a professional, knowing that even when you think you're in control and you have a vision of the way things ought to be or can be, that even someone very, very green in that profession can teach you quite a lot and can improve things. So those are two things that I took away from it.
I'll just quickly add that I got into the show by mistake. My very, very dear friend Carol Hay said, look, it's not the kind of thing you do. Yes, there are children, but who will see it? Yeah, and so when the show ended, a lot of people said, well, nobody wants to hire you again to do that. You were an idiot. And I said, I was acting. I was acting. I was digging deep to find that role. What I learned from the wonderful experience working with all these kids and with Carol and with Roger and the crew was that kids teach us more than we realize. It's so important to listen to kids. They're watching us. They're copying what we do. And they can teach us how to be much better versions of ourselves. Even these guys. Even these guys. Thanks.
Abby, your hair's only gotten bigger since the show ended, so do you still get recognized? I bet you do.
Oh, she gets recognized.
Mm-hmm.
I owe it all to props. It's not the hair. You know what, I thought I was going to be recognized here, and then I showed up and there's all these people in these amazing costumes, and I'm thinking, I'm invisible? Maybe the first time in my entire life. This is awesome.
No, they just think you're Wilma Flintstone, that's all. Okay, we got one last question. And Christine, it's your friend. And he's not sick, I clarified. He's okay, yeah.
Oh, he's sick.
What's your question?
I'm all smiles, actually. I'm just wondering, there was a lot of gross-out humor on the show. The Barkeeper sketches, the slide. I was wondering, was there ever an instance where maybe during the screenwriting or during the filming where someone said, no, you really can't do that on television because it was just too out there?
No.
The CRTC hadn't honed things down.
I don't believe we were ever shut down for any reason.
Well, there was the beer. We had to switch up the beer.
Once we went to Nickelodeon, then there were changes. But when we were doing our local show, I think it was just anything goes. I think the writers were very brave.
I know that there were times when Les tried to see how far he could push the envelope and get the kids to legitimately gag.
Oh, yeah.
He'd been in an accident, a car accident, and when they did the surgery, they somehow deadened his taste buds, his ability to taste what he was eating. As a result, he could eat anything. And did. And so in a lot of the sketches, if you watch now some of the dining rooms or the kitchens, the stuff he would eat in combination together, and the kids, the expressions on the kids' faces, we didn't do that in rehearsal. He did that live, and the kids looking horrified was real.
If I can just add to that, I know one particular scene, and Les was dressed, we were wearing raincoats at the dinner table because, you know, he would blow everything everywhere, all over the table. And there was one time we were taking it again, and I'm like, okay, so take a spoonful, I put it in my mouth, and I'm like, it's cold, and it tastes like
liver and lima beans.
Yeah, and so it was moments like that, you sort of go, oh, you know, because it's everywhere.
Good stuff. Now what? Abby.
I know we don't.
One in the back.
But we're doing another question?
I
We only
think
got 5 minutes left.
5 minutes left?
But that's okay.
Just want to wrap it up? Okay, let me wrap it up. Is that okay, Jess? You don't
Sure.
mind?
Well, I'm not the boss, but yeah,
I'll
sure.
just
Whatever
take
you
it.
want, Abby.
All right. So one of the things that I wanted to say to all of you here was about fame and what we all went through. And it's not a plug for my book, although thank you, Justin. What I wanted to tell you, what all of us want to tell you, is that whether you're the employee of the month at Starbucks or you win the lottery and don't tell anybody, and good luck with that, or you suddenly get a big promotion or a starring role in something, the most important thing to do is to make sure people understand that you're the one who draws the limits, you're the one whose life it is. Fame doesn't control you, you get to control fame. Whatever happens to you, you're in charge. It's what you want it to be. That's what my kids learned, I think. That's what we all gave out as best we could to our viewers. It's all about you. Your life is your life. And we wanted you all to feel that you owned it. So that's the legacy that I wanted to share.
Well, and in reading the book, and you interview so many people about fame, and every single one of them has a different interpretation. So there's no coincidence that it follows the arts, because it's so subjective, just like all art. You know, it means something different to everybody, and it shows up in people's lives in different ways too.
You know, if we had a longer time, I would ask every single one of you to tell me your personal definition of fame, and I would have a whole new book. You should think about that. Message me on Facebook. We'll start a new book. Thanks, Jessica.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for coming, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks, everyone. Are you guys available for selfies? People want selfies? If you want a selfie, come on up.